So that was for you, Miss Valerie Jane Lees. That's the Hexham nativity play, yeah? The Boston Strangler was the inn owner, and I'm going to explain to you all of the jokes about mulled wine in Innsbruck, yeah, and the birthplace of Pope Ratzinger, yeah, where he was schooled. Yeah, and this is the Dutch royal story too. That one there is my next one, true love, but she's happily married and she's got a really powerful bloodline, because I was gonna play Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, the truth is I never left you. She did. Yeah, she is directly related to the person that worked for Videla, the genocidal Condor of death man, yeah, and that's the one who gave confession to Pope Francis, yeah, the genocidal, yeah, activist in the culling of 30,000 people. And ironically, it's still on Queen Maxima Zorreguieta's transcript and her Wikipedia page. Let me show you her first. She's the most innocent person in this story, yeah, and she cannot be accountable for what her parents have done. But this is the fascist royals in Queen Juliana, Bernard, King Bernhard, yet the Nazi, with all of the meetings with Hitler, Beaverbrook, Lord Haw-Haw, and all of that stuff that I've told you about. Okay, so I'm not going to take a risk of playing the Don't Cry For Me music, which may get me copyrighted. Yeah, this story is shocking enough already, yeah, and some of these could be really decent people. I told you the other day that I was talking about the Dutch mafias, and the gods kept telling me to move upstairs, and I did not think that I could move further up, but I now realise that I could. Yeah, and it takes you right into Bavaria again, further up the Alps. Okay, that's no room at the Innsbruck birthplace for Adolf Hitler, yeah, at the top of Autoroute 999. No room at the inn at the birthplace for Arnie Schwarzenegger in California, the Calvary Hill joke. No room at the inn for Archbishop Hoodle, the Nazi from Innsbruck. Yeah, and now you realise that Pope Ratzinger, which is a joke about the Pied Piper of Hamelin, yeah, and I believe would have been a joke when, before I discovered it, that Radbot, yeah, way back in the 1100s, Radbot is one of the men that launches the William Tell joke out of Switzerland, and that's a red bottom, yeah, and that becomes the monkeys in Gibraltar, okay. And all of it is just a huge fascist belly laugh for all their time in history, and all of them are related to the Pisos and the famous names. She is absolutely fabulous in terms of her ancestry. She's the El Cid story. She looks like she is an Aztec queen and princess. Yeah, way back when. That's why the Mayan calendar kept coming into the stories in the British press, like the Holy Grail quest. And I've explained it to you already that all of them are just covers, and the Dutch royals are ever so clever, because in the same business registrations, I have not got that in this computer, they register themselves as men and women, all in the same hyphenated names. There's no doubt that Maxima Zorigueta is actually a woman. She's a very good looking woman, and she spawns 3 beautiful Aryan children called Amelia, Alexia and Ariane. Yeah, Aryan children, all blonde, all the same gender as her. Yeah, and he's got the Alexander name, and the Dutch names are difficult for me to suss, because that is the same issue as the Afrikaans. Okay, this one's von Lip Biesterfield, and he died in 2004. Yeah, and the king who was the Queen Beatrix character, do you get that? That's got the word Bear in it too. Okay, and that is the continuing theme that keeps coming up. We're taken to Bavaria every time by the Rothschilds and the Oppenheimers. Yeah, sorry, the Rockefellers. Yeah, that's the jokes about the places in the Alps run by the Rockefellers, become the ski resorts, and it becomes the elite resorts all around the world. Yeah, and I can show you the World Wildlife Fund, some of these characters as they were actually participating in the Nazis. So the Dutch royals, like the Spanish royals, since I came along, yeah, some of them have died. It sparked a panic attack that someone's prepared to expose them en masse. And there is the Beatrix woman with her husband. She's 80 something now. She's still a fine looking woman, like Miss Manning and Buller. And she has a body double in town too, the Dutch Queen. Okay, the former Dutch Queen, she's passed it on now to the Argentinian goddess that you just saw. Yeah, and let me explain how, even on our transcript on Wikipedia, here it is, let's show you, nothing to be hidden, okay? All of this is published for years on my website. There are the Dutch royals, the shell Nazis as they're described there. Yeah, and there is Prince Philip and all the scams about Lockerbie and the diamond stashes being on that plane, and the De Beers being married to Jackie O. Okay, it's all the super elite families. And there is Pope Ratzinger, yeah, also born in the Innsbruck region. No room at the inn, and the place where he was born is explained on the other computer, but I'm going to have to switch to that later on in the story. Okay, and that story there is about him being in Hitler Youth. That is Tiny Rowlands, and that is the man that writes the Punch magazine and owns the football club that has a statue of Michael Jackson outside it, and the new owner of that is actually Michael Jackson himself, because he came back from Jacksonville to take over Millwall Football Club. I think it's not Millwall, they're the fascist ones, like all of the people in this story. Yeah, and that's Jackie O, the double agent, Mrs. Valerie Jane Lees. I don't know what she used to sing at John F. Kennedy's nativity plays. All of them understand it. The Kennedys are in the 13 Illuminati families too, and their sexual behaviours are shameful. Okay, leaders of men, the whole lot of them are greedy, murderous bastards, and that is Prince Philip circled at the Nazi funerals in 1937. And some of the genealogical information is absolutely fabulous. It's fascinating to troll around here or stroll around it and see how the people that were in the eyes of the authors of these websites and the genealogical things, they dare not put the Rothschilds in as the parents of all of the bastard children of the Rothschilds that did all the dirty through that era, leading right through Queen Victoria's lifetime. And some of the links on that computer are to the bastard children, yeah, and they're married to Leopold in Germany, and all of it is made to look as if they are genuinely the children of Queen Victoria and Albert. Yeah, it's a massive fraud against the world's people, entirely for profit and for every genocide that they prompt for. And 30,000 people were killed in her Argentina, yeah, in the fascist cause, with Pope Francis looking over the shoulder of General Vidal, who was tokenly convicted, and her dad worked in his regime. Yeah, and it's openly discussed on her Wikipedia page that that was her roots, and that there were 30,000 people killed. That's the shootings in the stadia. Each of the stadia could hold way over 30,000 people. That is a grossly underestimated amount. And that's all the jokes about the caravans for those Cockney film directors, yet that make the Vera Drake film. Yeah, and it's the caravan of death, and all the jokes about the Travis band, the revolutionary traitors from Scotland, pretending that they're revolutionaries like the communists that were funded by the Rothschilds. So let's have a look at this woman. She's fabulous, isn't she lovely? Guess what she does in life? Yeah, she's a financial services expert. Yeah, she works for one of the massive companies that funded Hitler's campaign. Let me see what that is. Spouse. It's just amazing. She's got a potent female bloodline, so she's likely to be right back into the Aztec dynasties in South America, and she is infiltrated, and her genealogy is affected by the appearance of the Spaniards in Latin America as they colonize it. Yeah, and that is the links to El Cid of Bivar and Castile, and those are ancient names. And her genealogy, I've got it a little bit further along on that tab. Yeah, her genealogy takes you right back to King Alfonso and all of those fights for the kingdom. And she's now the princess of, the couple has 3 daughters. Her eldest is the Princess of Orange, Caterina Amelia Beatrix, Carmen Victoria. Yeah, all of them. I don't know whether or not they know about the Rothschilds' frauds, but all of them look really decent and warm and gentle people, and that's all that it takes to change the world. But they're now in a sovereign debt crisis in Spain, in Holland. Yeah, it's all the same joke about the Rothschilds and all the financial frauds and all of the corrupted institutions for which she works. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, she works for one of the biggies, one of the really biggies. Okay, so here it is, Dresdner Bank. You remember me telling you that they had to shut it down in, I can't remember whether it was World War I or World War II, but that is the German link to Hitler's funding. Yeah, and it's the links to the closure of their bank in London during one of those great conflicts. All of you, I've told you about, all of it is published on my website openly, yeah, until they try and take me down in the NHS. Okay, Maxima met him in Seville in Spain during the Seville Spring Fair. Yeah, so do you get it? She is lineage wise in the El Cid family, and that is the Ponce of yeah, the whole thing is a massive piss take against the world's people. Okay, where's the bit about the Argentinian stuff? Okay, she was born in Buenos Aires in 1971. She's the daughter of Jorge Zurigueta, Secretary of Agriculture under President Jorge Rafael Videla. That's General Videla in the troubled times. Okay, and during the national reorganization process, which is the genocide, Caravan of Death, and Operation Condor. Yeah, and his second wife, Maria del Carmen Cerruti Caricat, that's Cerruti is her last name. Okay, she has 2 brothers, a sister, and 3 half-sisters by her father's first wife, Marta Lopez Gil. She is named after, and that was the director at Manchester United, and on the Olympics commissioning boards, but with 2 L's. It's very easy to change the names, and the Bono name, yeah, which ties them to the Pisos, is used by her paternal great-grandmother, Maxima Bonomo, and that's the Speedy Gonzales jokes all through the cartoon characters. Okay, her father was a member of the Zorreguieta family, had been landed gentry and statesman for generations. Her maternal great-grandfather, where does it tell you about? Okay, through her father she is descended from King Alfonso III of Portugal. Yeah, that's the El Cid lineage, and other noble families. Oh, sorry, it's the rivals of El Cid. Yeah, El Cid did not want to take the throne from them because he believed strongly in the power of the monarchy. It's all the same joke. Yeah, when the man played by Michael Douglas yeah, is Spartacus, and he's got the chance to free the slaves because there are only half a dozen soldiers watching him fight with his second in command as a revolutionary, and he could have turned on them and lopped their heads off really easily, but instead they fought to the death as was commanded. It's all a massive joke. There are no left-wingers anywhere but in the town of Kelso, yeah, and the decent people that I talk to on the internet. Sometimes it's ever so difficult to find them. Okay, and other members of the Iberian. But so let me find you the stories about Videla in the transcript for the new Dutch Queen. That's the Royal Dutch Fascists. Okay, but the Prince of Orange and heir apparent, they agreed to meet again 2 weeks later in New York, where Maxima was working for Dresdner Kleinwerk Benson, one of the biggest fraudulent banks and the funders for fascists through all of its time. Yeah, their relationships apparently began in New York. Yeah, that's the Dutch joke about New York that I've told you. They crashed my video as it was uploading again last night. Yeah, and her parents, and his parents, Queen Beatrix and Prince Klaus. This was kept a secret for some time. Okay, where's the bit on? So there's the lovely girls in Rothschild yellow. Yeah, on the balcony. Yeah, and there's the parents, and all of them are female. Okay, the couple engaged in on 30th March 2001, and she was granted Dutch citizenship by royal decree. Isn't it nice if you have elite and powerful friends, Miss Valerie Jane Lees, that you can share things like that with your right to work in New Zealand sort of stuff? Yeah, and all of it you totally support. Okay, and there's the new kirk. Yeah, this is the royal Dutch people that gifted Blenheim Palace to the Churchills because of the Battle of Blenheim and all of the mercenary roles that the Churchills play on behalf of William and Mary. Yeah, and all of their all the parents are Joseph's, all the wives and children are Mary's through all of the religious fraud. Okay? And Victoria gets a mention through all of the genealogical frauds. Okay? Maxima is godmother of Magnus of Norway. That's you, Sally. Yeah? Songs of praise. Orange Nassau's, and it's just massive. Okay? So here they are. Where's the bit about, let's see if I can find Videla, and we'll find that bit about the genocide, and then we'll move on to Bavaria. Well, she's lovely. She looks a bit plump in some of it, and in some other bits she's got the little blue dress on for all the fascist icon. Yeah, I don't think she's pregnant in that one, but that's her in Hamburg. Yeah, the German links to the whole of the fascism and the whole of the monarchy takeovers of every country is quite intimidating. Let me find Videla. Okay, so her dad was working for him, and the Pope was giving him confession. Yeah, and all of it is the genocide of all of those people. Okay? Maxima Zurigeta Cerruti was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina on 17th May. She is the daughter of George and born 1928, Secretary of Agriculture under President George Rafael Videla during the national reorganization process dictatorship. Yeah, that is why I wanted to play you the Don't Cry For Me Argentina joke. That's about the Perón family. Yeah, all of it, all of Latin America is fascist. That's why the Nazis head for the hills there when the war is over in World War II. Okay, and so where she's named after and where is the bit about the genocide? That's on that other tab in the dirty war. Okay, here it is. The news of the couple's relationship and eventual marriage plans caused controversy in the Netherlands due to the involvement of Maxima's father George Zorregueta as a cabinet minister during the fascist national, yeah, that's fascist Holland, that just stepped aside when Hitler swept through their country in World War II. No resistance at all. Okay, national reorganization, the latest Argentinian dictatorship. Her father's tenure as a minister took place during the beginning stages of the Dirty War, a period of repression. That's the beginning stages that saw up to 30,000 people killed. That's the beginning stages of the massive thing that created the massive earthquake when the man came back from his training in Colombia. That's Pinochet, Mrs. Thatcher's fascist friend. Yeah, who ended his life in elite London. Okay, so 30,000 people killed or disappeared during the 7-year military regime at the request of the States General. A Dutch professor in Latin American studies carried out an inquiry. Yeah, that's the Dutch mafias. And do you realise where the Hague is for the war crimes investigations now? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the roads that I'm going to show you that lead to Innsbruck from Göttingen, which means no fucking God, which is why they're living in fear now of how long they've got left to take their final breath. Yeah, it's a joke, but it means no God. Yeah, in Swedish and in German. Yeah, Gott is God in German, and Ingen is no God. Yeah, is nothing. Yeah, there is no God. That's their joke. And that in the 30 Years' War, the huge massacres of Christian versus Christian, yeah, it's perpetrated by the Swedish and the German Protestants. That's their joke. That's the Orange Movement. All of them give their religions different names so that they can keep the numbers down, and that is what is portrayed on the World Wildlife Fund page of my website. Yeah, the World Wildlife Fund takes over all those massive national parks, it trains the mercenaries, and all of a sudden the local people are all fighting against each other, and all the weapons come out of the G8 countries. And it's a master plan. Which is presumably why the Dutch fascist males do not have very many male children. Did you notice that? As you scan along the bloodline. Yeah? And Queen Beatrix is a very spirited looking woman. And the body devil talks to me all the time, and she's very pleasant, and she smiles just like that. Okay? It's just amazing. And look who their sisters are married to. Carlos Hugo de Bourbon, where did I see the horsey name? Laurentien Brinkhorst. And yeah, it's much more difficult in foreign language. And there's the Selgraves, and I told you about the Seagraves and the Wargraves and the Margraves and things. Yeah, it's all the same sets of lineages, and they're all intertwined. Okay? And so let's go now to just a little bit about our ancestry. Oh no. Let's take you to the sadder part of the story. I was randomly looking through this, and all of that stuff about the bears and Bavaria has got me all riled up about the Rothschilds being in charge of all of it, yeah, and inserting their names in ever such a sleazy and clever way, yeah. And so I thought, why did the Pope resign? Yeah, because this Pope is living in peacetime, but I now understand that he was picked because he is the same name as the Pope that was in charge in World War, in one of the massive genocides way back when. So Pius was in charge in World War II. He's the Nazi Pope with the man who was born in the Innsbruck region, Archbishop Hudel. Yeah, and he's the one that wore the canaries on his shoulder as a confirmation that they launder all of the Nazis through the Canary Islands into Latin America. And I've explained the links to Latin America and the Aztecs. Yeah, it's all through the world history. Yeah, just everybody that was in power when writing was invented and the weaponries became sophisticated, they still use those methods to be in power now. Okay, birth of Katharina Ratzinger, 1851. Okay, baptism in 1851. Birth of Joseph Ratzinger, 1877. Death of Katrina, 1937. I've got the transcript for the Pope. Yeah, it's amazing. All of their jokes are replayed through all of the story. So he's schooled in the Innsbruck region, yeah, like the Hexham joke about the nativity play about the non-existent Jesus Christ. Yeah, and so what else have we got? Lapsed Catholic. And what is that? So her ancestry is absolutely astounding. And where do I find that? I think it's on here, and if I go forward we'll get, yeah. So this is the links to the Spanish nation and the Chichis that are in the Godfather movie, yeah, and all the Alfonsos, that's the kings of Portugal in 1248. So the Portuguese and the Spaniards go for the west coast of America, yeah, and for South America, and all of that is the Mayan calendar jokes, okay, and it's the mission films and all of those massive jokes about yeah, about the American actors pretending to be Spaniards, and all of the issues about morality are totally assigned to the cardinals that are in attendance. Yeah, and all of the native people get culled by them. Okay, and this is an ancient ancestry. Yeah, that's why I think at the bottom they're suggesting that she is the Aztec remnants. Okay, so that's the El Cid joke, and there's another set of genealogical lines that I discovered, and that's BT refusing to let me into some of them. And there she is, she's lovely. Okay, and somewhere in this story is we have all of the places that I mention in the Spanish, the places where they go for the pilgrimages along the Pyrenees are also mentioned in this story. That's the story about the shining that I've told you with John Patterson in the past, and all of the Spanish royals making a massive profit out of the pilgrimages for the false religion. Okay, so they abdicated on the 30th of April 2013, right in the middle of my potent research period. Yet when I'm spilling the beans about what they do, I cannot show you the director numbers because they're ever so clever with it. Yeah, but they've got dozens and dozens of companies. Yeah, these are the companies, the people that run that Royal Dutch Shell activities. And on that page of my website you can find the militaries led by General George Videla left. Yeah, that's him making Winston Churchill's fascist sign that they use through, and there's the Operation Condor, the unclassified information, yeah, about the involvement of the papacy and the military, yeah, not only in Argentina but in Chile and all of those other places. The biggest earthquake in the world was when Pinochet returned, okay, and the Pope now lives in a place where they have Aquila fountains outside his residence, and Aquila gets more earthquakes than any other place in Italy. Yeah, and the Christian church gets brought to the ground every time. Right next door to Paganonia, okay? Yeah, and so that the assassinations of countless numbers of people, including priests and nuns and doctors, Dr. Ian Fingland, yeah, who opposed military rule following the CIA-sponsored March 24th 1976 coup. That's why Henry Kissinger is pictured in the story. Okay, and it's been a totally cloudless day since I discovered the links. Okay, so who's this one? Author's estimates: Cordoba, Argentina. Wages were immediately frozen. Yeah, this is the Chicago scamsters, and Chicago is the place that released Milton Friedman, who's the biggest fraudster in the globalization project in the whole world. Okay, he launches the whole of the disintegration by the IMF and the powerful institutions that the Rothschilds totally own all around the world. Yeah, and that becomes the European Central Bank, the World Bank, and all the scams. And every time they tell you they're in sovereign debt, the money's in their suitcases. Hannah, I'm still waiting for your call. Okay, and that's another coup d'etat. Tank commanders funded to take over the nation. That's Vidal's role. Okay, and that's Vidal, the boss of the dad of the new queen in the Netherlands, with all their fascist history. Okay, the dirty wars allegations directed against Cardinal George Mario, that's the Mary in the middle name, the Dutch royals use that in the business register. Yeah, Royal Dutch Shell has hundreds of subsidiaries all around the world, all using the Royal Dutch Shell name. None of them have the honesty or integrity to use the same director number twice. They keep changing their name and their gender. And yeah, all of telling lies is a sin, even in the Catholic Church, which is why some of them had to go to confession, and that is Pope Francis, the current Pope. Totally in league with the Archbishop of Canterbury, or with the Chief Rabbi, and all the scams about the Blitz in London, where they get the reparations and the damage from the insurance, because the insurance is run by Intel. Mrs. Valerie Jane Lees. I don't know if you get paid for it. You've never declared any other overt income in the whole of your life since you trained in Baker Street. You never even mentioned that. Okay, so that's the current George Mario Bergoglio, Pope Francis. You remember when he was inaugurated, the massive lightning storms. Look at it outside today. Look at it, not one cloud anywhere. It's been like that since I woke up. Yeah, and I went to bed all in a tiz. But when you look at the Bavarian crime scene and all the jokes about all the elite families coming out of there, that is the Warner Brothers Son of a Shoemaker joke too. Yeah. Right then. So, what shall we show you on the other computer? It's quite stunning, and all the jokes and all the stories in Hollywood and the Gladiator movie intertwine with what I'm telling you now. Someday my prince will come. Yeah, I've got all the forensic proof, as Gordon Bowden says. Yeah. So I think we've more or less covered that. That's on my website. So this is Pan-Continental Fascism, An Endless Tale of Genocide. If you look that up on Prof. George Lee's Revelations, you'll find it. Look up the World Wildlife Fund, look up Videla, look up Henry Kissinger. He's still in power. He's looking ever so feeble now. Okay, and so let's get this computer on the go. So that's the lovely Maxima is now the Queen in Holland. And I don't know why when people start telling the truth they don't just take them out, but I believe I was sent here by God to do this job, and all I'm doing, I'm not a God, I'm not a Jesus, I'm just an intelligent man with all of the moral rules that I learned from Pope Francis's predecessors in my head. Yeah, that's all that it takes. All the scamsters that cover up all the news, and every one of the preachers that preach in the pulpit and every one of the denominations every Sunday has to cover up my stories. It's just amazing. Yeah, and it's just amazing how the ordinary people are slaves to the elites that send their children to death in every great conflict. Right, that's a bit melodramatic. Let's take you back to the facts. Ooh. And when you learn that Göttingen is immune from bombing and it means no God in the religious sector, no one is able to explain such a gross thing. Yeah, it's a massive joke, like everything that I've shown you. Right. Okay. So, Aschau, yeah, this is the joke about mulled wine, yeah. In the movie that is my favourite, they go into the pub run by the Italian mafia man, yeah, and they get chucked out because what they say is, we would like to have a glass of mulled wine, please. Aschau, yeah, Aschau am Inn, which is the birthplace of Pope Ratzinger. I believe that it will be a change in the name to take the red for Rothschild out of the crime scene. Do you get it? Yeah? It's very difficult now to find any English translation of red. Rad no longer appears like it did when I put Radbot on the page of my website. Yeah? Even Google Translate covers things up. Okay? But this is quite telling. Aschau is a municipality in the district of Muldweindorf. And I forget what Dorf was. Where have we seen that before? In Bavaria, yeah, with the word bear in it. Yeah, all the Rothschild jokes in Germany. Pope Benedict the 16th, yeah, Pope Benedict the 15th was the Pope in World War I. And there were a couple of murders in his election and his picking in the Vatican itself. He lived in Aschau with his family from 1932 to 1937, and there we've got all the bears, issues, yeah, the Landsats für Statistik, yeah, that's the bears, that is the Rothschilds, all over the Alpine crime scene, but none of them declare it. They're cleverer than the rest. And that's why they survive all the wars that they profit from. Hannah, I'd love to have a chat. Okay, so, and here's the Pied Piper joke. Yeah, that's the Ratzinger thing. Yeah, the rat and the pan pipes. Yeah, drawing the children away from that corrupted town, and the rats are all through it. Okay, so a rat fanger is a rat catcher, and that is on, that's what you find when you look up I'm not sure what the person was called. Okay, so there's Hamelin, yeah, and it's right next door to Göttingen, right next door, yeah. That's the no-God place, the place which is immune from bombing, like Heidelberg. You remember the Heidi stories by the Grimm brothers? The Grimm brothers are the two professors, and that's the joke in the Marlene Dietrich films, that the professor does not understand the prostitution issues that she engages in both sides of the Atlantic, yeah, before and after the war. Yeah, it's massive, and the rats follow the tune. Yeah, that's all of what they want to get rid of, is the ordinary hungry eaters. Okay, and the pizzo pie is everywhere. Yeah, the piccolo is everywhere, the woodwinds are everywhere. All of it is a joke about false religion. The Pizzos wrote the Bible. The Pizzos are the piss take about pie and the racehorses, yeah, and the birthplace of these people. So there is the picture of the man who serves him. He asks that man who runs the pub in Bedford Falls, yeah, which becomes Pottersville, and all of the joke is the same joke for me. Yeah, the world's a wonderful place if you have friends. Every one of my friends is a traitor to me, and even my one true love at one stage is totally dedicated to dismembering my capacity to speak openly about why her children are thousands and thousands of pounds in debt for all of these fascist jokes. And you should see how many subsidiaries and Ponzi's of Royal Dutch Shell the Royals run. Not a word of truth in any of it. Okay, let me show you the Göttingen joke. Okay, I'm going to look closer into the Pied Piper story, but I want to get you the whole of the perspective on why Pope Benedict, yet the Hitler Youth man, resigned really early. Okay, Piedmont is where some of the elite families come from in Germany, and it's become the bad region. Yeah, the Baden region of Germany, and this is also a joke for Mrs. Valerie Jane Lees, although she may not be sophisticated enough to know it. Okay, Piedmont is the no-God region of Germany. Yeah, that's Protestant Germany, the Orange movement that sweeps across Europe, then sweeps into America, and all of the frauds and all of the mafia families are still together in crime. This is also Himmel Hempstead, Mrs. Valerie Jane Lees, and the owners of Butlins in Park Lane, Himmel Hempstead. Yeah, and all the links to the Kodak companies and the Beatles actresses and all of the persons that were married to Paul McCartney in the Himmel Hempstead affiliation to Liverpool, and all of the training of Hitler, and all of it is a massive joke. Yeah, and the people from Bristol at Jehovah's are looking really emaciated and stressed. Yeah, and there is no wonder about that in my mind. Yeah, it's just amazing that they can get away with what they do all of the time. Thank you for helping me with my bike tires. Okay, so let me show you that. That's the mulled wine joke, and all of the jokes about my favourite film. Okay, there's Clarence the Angel. There's him punching the school teacher, yeah, because of what they've done to his little girls. And there is all of his friends in the hometown coming together and paying for the money that his brother or his uncle Billy lost in Pottersville. Yeah, that's what it became, and that is the joke about the ashes in the pot for the war dead all around the world, and everything else they're not interested in. They're interested in stealing and killing and keeping the numbers of hungry eaters down. Okay, and it was made by Frank Capra, and the DiCaprio joke is just a joke about some of these elite families, and it was linked to the stuff I was reading last night. I can't remember whether it's in Brazil or whether it's in Europe, but the Carpios are the family that link into these really rich guys, and DiCaprio is in the elite actors scene, so that will be the same bloodline. Okay, and there's the Christmas joke. Never ever happened. Yeah, that's the no room at the INNSBRUCK, birthplace for Hitler and all of the genocidal religious figureheads. Okay, so they ask when they go in for the mulled wine from that guy there. That's the school teacher that he abused on the phone. He gets chinned for that, and immediately they are thrown out onto the snow, and you should have seen the frost last night. It's just amazing. Oh, the stars are glinting. It's amazing, and it's really, really beautiful. This is a really, really ugly story, so let's get it told. Okay, so let's shrink him. And there's Aschau am Inn on Wikipedia. There's only 3,000 people in it now that the Pope has passed on. Yeah, hey, there it is, Aschau in winter. Beautiful looking place. Petite little cottages with red roofs. And that takes a long time to explain, but it's the same joke as the Berwick and the all of the trading all across the Baltic coast. Aschau am Inn, right on the Bavarian border. Okay, and there's the coordinates, and I don't think there are any other jokes. There's the Muldorf, yeah, mulled wine. Everything, every little minute detail is laughed at. And Hitler's birthplace is just up the 999 autoroute, and all of it is the crime scene for the Von Trapp family singers jokes. Okay, so we were explaining, I think, the Göttingen. How do I go full screen? There we go. Okay, so Piedmont is a branch of the elite families that were actually in the bloodline for that woman, yeah, I think back in the Spanish days. Or this could just be a direct link to my searches for the claimants who pretend to be the children of Queen Victoria and that their parents are elite monarchs from Piedmont. That was the story, okay? So it means a pirn. A pirn is a spinning top, like a dreidel in the Jewish jokes, okay? And that is the witchcraft spinning the yarn stuff, and it's the mountain from a molehill joke, okay? And that's not very compelling, but here you go. Okay, so the next one is Göttingen is right up close where Professor Grimm's lived. That is the Swedish Ingen and German Gott jokes. They are the two primary countries in the Protestantism in the 30 years religious wars, and that is for all of the Peter Eyre people. That is the Pandora's Box movie, and that is the seven. It was a movie made about the religious war up in Sweden. It's got Ingrid Bergman in it, and it's the Seven Seals. Okay, all of it is about violence and Christians killing other Christian denominations, and there's the joke for all of the royals that sponsor it. Translate from Swedish the word Gott, and you get translate from German in this case, and you get God. And the Ingen thing, and the Ing is the field marshal who's on the board of all of those Rothschild companies, okay? And that is Ingen means no or none, no one, none, nobody, not any, no God. That's really funny in the religious movements. And Beckham also means God, yeah, David Beckham and posh. And Ali G knows it all inside out. Yeah, and that's the Seven Seals for Ingrid Bergman, one of the most beautiful Swedish actresses. Yeah, she reminds me of the Queen at Monaco that they also had murdered. Okay, it's really dangerous to step out of line, which is why I'm really grateful to the gods for overseeing everything that has happened so far. And when you look further down, Ike, the Icknield Way, means no, none as well. Okay, that's the Icknield Way jokes, and all of the Roman roads, yeah, are the crime scenes for the New World Order and the slaving people that we told you about in the video that they crashed through the night last night. Yeah, okay, and that's the Chipping Norton set that my wife works for too. Sorry, my ex-wife. And here is, yeah, the Himmel Hempstead joke. Yeah, it's far from heaven, but that is the joke. Gotten Himmel, God in heaven. Do you get it now? No God at all in the new religion's minds. They are more powerful and they are much more murderous, because all of their weapons are made by the Krupps. Yeah, and all of the Krupps and all of those stories I've told you about the corrupted hotels that are owned by the people that spend their peaceful war in Colditz and are called Brucks, because it's the Innsbruck joke. And they're listed on the British fascists listings, even although they are in a tiny town called Kelso, and they were my best friends in the joke about it being a wonderful life when I was a child and I was old enough to drink with them. Very, very capable in the drinking sector. They become bigots on the football touchline, and they pretend that there was a stabbing involving a black man, and they're racists, like all of the fascists. Yeah? And all of that is the Springer's joke about Bruce Springsteen being in the mafias too. Okay? So here is Bad Pyrmont. Yeah? There is Himmel Hempstead. That's Helmstedt. Okay? There is Göttingen. Yeah? No bombing in World War II. There is Hanover. Yeah, where the British kings and queens come from, and they fight against all of their neighbours there. And there is Magdeburg, there is all of it is familiar, and there is Sondershausen. Yet the Saunderses are in my hometown too. They look really penitent, and I see them with the other Germans all the time now. And I asked them if they were in the Masons, in the lodges in Germany that created all of this war, and they said no. But they were part of getting Hitler and Eva Braun, the Saunderses, out of the River Spree in the Beatles' yellow submarine, and the whole thing is a human tragedy. And there's the Lippitzanner's place, and it is massive. Okay? And I can't see at that resolution. So there's Sandershausen, Wolfsburg, Brunswick, yeah, the places where Hitler started to preach from the Christian pulpits. And it's the same for Beaverbrook in New Brunswick. It's Brunswick there in Germany, it's Brunswick in Canada. And there's the Minden and Mindanao jokes, and all the eggs and chickens jokes. And Munster is a place in Ireland too, also the affiliation to Germany in World War II. Yeah, and all the demonisation of the English, all of them are Freemasons. Yeah, the people that make the profits from it are Freemasons. They have carefully covered up Pope Benedict's links to the Freemasons. I cannot find anything on that. Yeah, he will be a Freemason, take my word for it. It is massive. Yeah, and the person who was the leader before he took over was in World War II, the Cardinal was a mullah. Yeah, that's the grind the bones to flour jokes and the fire pans stuff. Yeah, the mullahs are the millers, and that is the Piso joke all through world history. Alexei Miller is the boss at Gazprom, the massive scam all across Europe, taking away all of the Russian people's oil and gas in the name of BP and the British Royals. Okay, the hemp is the rope making, yeah, which is what they used to use to hang up the innocent people. Okay, and that's the German translation for it, Hanfstell, and it takes you into handwork and the Hancock's name too, but that's a little bit complicated for this global story that I'm trying to tell. Okay, so oh shit, we've lost the tabs. Okay, so there's the hemp, and it ends up as being the rope, and the Krasnosilk ends up being the silk in the stockings, and the silk for the parachutes, and the silk for all of the corrupted judiciary all around the world. And they let Kleinwort Benson, who the new Spanish queen, the new Dutch queen works for, off the hook in all of the war crimes inquests. And when you look at the map of the places between the place on the river the Brook River banks, yeah, where the Ratzinger Pope was schooled, yeah, halfway between that and the place that we just looked at, Pyrmont, yeah, you get Nuremberg on the route between those two massive fascist places. Yeah, and that all of it is when you believe it, it's a lie. Yeah, if you're taught something by any of these organised, all of the universities are trained to steal and deceive. I don't know how they launch the evil into young medical students' heads. I can't imagine that happening in any university that I've worked in. But you know, the bosses are obligated. The reason they are the bosses is because they're working for the royals, and the royals are working for the Rothschilds and the moneylenders and the corrupted banks, like that new Queen does. Okay, so how do I get back to seeing the tabs on the side? Is that it? Yeah. Okay, so that's the Piermont story, the no God story for the Protestant religions, and it's no better in the Catholics. I've just shown you what the Pope does in the genocides. And when you see the lightning storms that accompanies his appointments, it is easy to see through what the gods want us to understand and why the sun has been out all day. Okay? Red and rot. Okay, so that's what we've told you. That's what the Salvation Army have told us. That's the rot red Rothschild's shield. Okay, that linkage now is becoming extremely embarrassing for them. That's why Radbot, yeah, Red Bum, was the Swiss aristocrat that I've got posted on my website. And when I look at the post now, it seems quite empty, but that's because all of the evidence, yeah, about the roots of that, and that's Rotterdam too. Okay, and the Rutherfords, yeah, the Rutherfords, the mafia families. And they are also very decent people in the borders. They come and talk to me all the time. Okay, so that's not a very insightful page. Don't know what else I had on that. So here's the Ratzinger Wikipedia profile, and it's quite amazing. Okay, because remember, we've got the Bay City roles for the Rothschilds up here. Yeah, that's the Hudson's Bay companies, and that is massive. And some of the directorates that I've got for the Van Dins will also shock you. I'm not sure where the directorates are for the Dutch royals. Let's get this story told first. So there is the picture that I've just described for you in words of Bad Piermont. Yeah, that's the Piso word, and the mountain to a molehill right next to Hanover and Brunswick. That's why the British royals are in the Piso bloodline. Yeah, and why it's become bad, and they turn everything that's good around. Okay, and there at the bottom is Munich. That's where the Juden lodges are. Yeah, and there at the bottom is Salzburg, which is the place where the Swiss von Trapp family live. Yeah, they have to escape across the border to neutral Switzerland, out of Austria and out of all of those birthplaces for all the fascists. And there is Nuremberg, halfway up the road. Hanover, Brunswick, Frankfurt, home for the Rad Rothschilds, okay, with the same shield as the Salvation Armies and all the false religions I've now told you about. There's Potsdam, yeah, that's the Potsdamer Platz, where David Bowie walks the dead, and Berlin is just along the way. There's Dresden, totally flattened, the beautiful city of culture that was totally flattened to get all of the hungry eaters out of the way as they swept across, yeah, swept across towards the Russian front. It's massive. Right, so that's just one, and right next door to Czechoslovakia, where they had one of the popes in the Great Schism. Okay, he attended the Pope Aschau's school am Inn, which was renamed in his honour in 2009. Okay, it's really, really sick. And it takes you into the Gladiator movie, and he's the bishop for the place where the gladiator tried to revive his armies and fight back. That's that story. He was the cardinal bishop of Ostia. You remember when she was in a little carriage and that Irish guy below, who's his loyal friend and is in control of the armies after they've tried to execute him, yeah, that one there, he talks to her and says, we've got the army, I want to talk to the man and we want to get him in charge of our army. They're camped up at Ostia. They become fat and useless there, and that is the same joke about the navy for the Roman Empire being launched from Ostia. Yeah, it's a naval port. They're useless at naval warfare. It's all the same joke. And there's the poppies for the war dead now, and that is Poppaea in the Roman court. Yeah, she was shagged by Caligula the emperor, and that was the birth, illegitimate birth, of Arius Calpurnius Piso, the most powerful and evil man in the whole of world history. And all of these die as innocents, but that's just the Hollywood version. And she's the devil's daughter in the other Hollywood movie. It's just amazing that everything for them is a joke. Hannah, I may have to frisk you in the first night. Yeah, if you ever show up. It's just amazing. Okay? And all of it is a joke. There he is. The whole of the papacy. Okay? So, Pope Emeritus, the first time it ever happened, and it all coincides with me becoming a fraud researcher, like my divorce. Yeah, and I've published all the stuff I wrote to his butler about all of the sacking of his butler and all the trivial cover-ups that are in the paper. Okay, Ratzinger, yeah, that's Ratzinger. They will not release the truth. Born near Radbot in the Innsbruck region again, maybe a revolutionary red communist in the paper soon. He funds the Rothschilds. Yeah, that's the Vatican funding the Rothschilds, not the other way round. That's Kalman Rothschild, and covers Benedict the 14th's genocides. Yeah, I think it was the 15th, he's the 14th, in World War I. Then the Canary Edessa diaspora are back in the hands of Pius XII, and that reads Pussy. Yeah, if you change the sequence, and all the black cats were killed so the rats could thrive, and that was Gregory, but not a harlot. So you can see the Pied Piper is a good man like me. That's the Pan pipes, and I think Pan is the god of love. And there's a statue of him in the Hyde Park in London, right next door to the massive joke that is the Albert Hall, because Albert is the most innocent man in the whole story, and the Windsors murdered him. Okay, looks relatively innocent in 2010. Got the Rothschilds' yellow vestments on. Okay, John Paul II was his predecessor, and he's a Jew. The first Jew, that's Andrew Carrington Hitchcock that tells that story. Okay, successor Gorgoglio in the Spanish genocides, the Condor, Operation Condor, and the Caravan of Death genocides. Okay, created cardinal by Paul VI, and this is the jokes about Alois Hitler Rothschild. Joseph is the launch of every new scam. Alois Hitler is the parent of Adolf Rothschild Hitler. Okay, and Markel is the Merkel. So he was born in Markel, Germany, and that is just the cover-up. I thought it was also the name of a racehorse, but I'm wrong on that. I couldn't find a racehorse named Markel. Franco came up. And that is the move to the Normandy coast for the false religion. And there is Merkel, the cover. She's a super elite family too, but she pretends to be a socialist. And East Germany, through Berlin and the Berlin Wall, is not actually the divide. It's just a place quite up close to Poland, so that it can look as if there is a division between the right and the left wing. All of them are total fascists. And the Pope lives in Mater Ecclesia, next to Aquiline fountains, and that's the Aquila place that is next to Paganonia in the spine of Italy, that gets more massive earthquakes than any Italian place now. And there is his little wee house, Pope Benedict the 16th. So the Pope in World War I was Pope Benedict the 15th. Okay, and it was a nun's residence. That's the number 50 in the Piso Code. That's the number of people that get shot at the back of the truck in the Great Escape, and it means nun. So Joseph Ratzinger Sr. and Maria Ratzinger, née the maiden name. His mum is a virgin and his dad is a Joseph. Do you see it? And he gets christened on the same day that he gets born. You don't have to, if you're chosen one, in the fascist movement, you don't have to wait or book an appointment. You get christened on the same day, and he's born on a religious magic day. And all of it, he has to step down because he's a physical coward, and you can see the heart attacks and things coming at him, and he's got ever such a prominent tremor. And it will be the same. When the Pope was inaugurated under the lightning storm, he had a massive limp and was walking with a stick for a long time. Did you see it? The Piso joke. The maiden name of his mum was Pinter. The Pinto is the name of one of the Mayflower ships. That's Christopher Columbus's ships. All of it is the same jokes and the same sad families and the same genocidal outcomes. I have great hope for the dumb Kleinwort Benson blonde in the Dutch monarchy. Okay, Archbishop of Munich and Freising, and that is the European ties and Masonic meetings attended by Pope Francis. I cannot find any evidence on the old Pope who's now become emeritus. I do not get to be an emeritus professor because I've walked away on principle from every university I've worked in. And I'm now in a really good place to let the whole world know how dangerous they are, those universities, because they're stealing all of that money from the kids for the education we got for free. There's the Ostia joke. He's the Cardinal Bishop of Ostia when I'm just thinking about going to New Zealand and getting interviewed there. There's the Ostia tragedy. The fact that he's betrayed by the regime of freedom fighters. That's the communist equivalent that the Rothschilds fund. There's an army of William Tell people waiting for him when he escapes from internment as a slave. She lets him free and she's sitting in the grandstand as they take him down, but he's been taken down because he gets a knife in the side like Jesus got when he was hanging on the cross. And all of it is the Freemason stories. And all of that is the equivalent of the launch of Christianity by the Freemasons in a thing called a Mithraeum, and that's the mithril vests for the Lord of the Rings mythology. It's all a massive fraud, and it's a massive drain on the world. They're now running a 100 club. I forget what 100 stands for in the Piso Code. It's just sickening. and I don't know how many of the worshippers actually understand it, but it is tragic that they can be gulled like this. Okay, so we're going to finish on time. The most important thing is that you realise the cynicism as they commit the genocides, and the no God joke in that massive conflict that killed 8 million people, even though they had no guns in that time of the 30 Years' War. It's absolutely tragic. Let me see if I can find some Royal Dutch Director numbers now. Okay. There he is, Hitler Youth. Current Pope, that's not current now. This is when I was looking for him as a Freemason. So I can find the current Pope as a Freemason, and all of it, it will have been burnt in the fire pans. All of the evidence that he is also in that Masonic lodge, that all of the Forbes rich list people jump out of. Yeah, and it's amazing how many of the families are represented in my hometown. The gods have picked me to play this role, and I hope I don't let them down. Okay. Younger Joseph Ratzinger, future Pope Benedict XVI, as a member of the Hitler Youth movement, and that is Taze Russell's symbol for the Jehovah's. Okay, and that's the Russell group that run the universities. Okay, here's a little bit. Joseph Ratzinger was part of Hitler Youth, and this is the links to the BMWs, which I've just told you about, and that is the families that are the Counts, yeah, that are the woman with the lovely freckles, and in the top 50 rich people, in she and her brother, she's the one that trained at Bedford University. Yeah. And it's massive, and there's the little dog that is FDR's, and all of it is the same team. Yeah, all of the candidates in the election in America are super elites and from these lineages. So the slaves of the Dachau death camp work for industries also of BMW and in the production of weapons. Yeah, that's the slaving centres that are the death camps, and that is the genocide that I talked about in the video that got blocked last night in the middle of the night. And when I'm making this video, it may well be blocked in the computer in the other room this afternoon again. Okay, and the yellow brick road is the road joke to Berlin, and all of that is the dangerous game played by Elton John, who now has his babies without the risk of the gods making an intervention that mean that he cannot have babies. Yeah, the humans are more powerful than the gods. They have another think coming. Okay, right then. So, ordained as a priest in 1951 in his native Rothschild, Bavaria, Ratzinger established himself as a highly regarded university theologian by the late 1950s, and was appointed a full professor in 1958 when Miss Valerie Jane Lees was born. Okay, Archbishop of Munich. You remember the Munich and the Frankfurt Juden lodges were where the Rothschilds got started in raising all of that venture capital, so that their sponsors in the elites could be fooled by them, and suddenly all of the venture capital becomes the Rothschilds, like all of the world. And that's Hitler shaking hands with Muller. Yeah, the Miller. Yeah, that's why I'm so grateful to some of the Miller family. Others have the pathology, but the social work one is really nice. Yeah, and this is the Primus stove. Yeah, and yeah, all of it takes me back into my childhood, and on 11th February 2013, yeah, I came back in 2010. We're 3 years into my campaign now, yeah, and that would have been an effective separation date for my wife, but she was here a lot longer than that. Yeah, yeah, and this is Benedict announces resignation in a speech in Latin before the cardinals citing a lack of strength of mind and body. Yeah, all of that comes from the gods. That's why all of the traitors commit suicide, yeah, on the fishing river, yeah, for the bloodlines owners, yeah, and when that begins